You guys may be asking why, out of all topics, would I talk about scars, healing, and restoration? Can we go to the next slide, please? So this is my testimony. If you guys may or may not know, I was born with 3 heart defects. I was born with pulmonary atresia, double outlet right ventricle, and then crisscross ventricles. If you don't know what that means, it means my heart is not the same as yours. And I had my first surgery when I was 8 days old. I had my second surgery when I was around a year old. And I had my third and final surgery when I was 6 years old. So it's been 15 years since I've had a heart surgery. And so the topic of scars means a lot to me because I've felt the physical wounds, I've felt the physical pain. But I think more than that, I've been almost psychologically scarred in a way that I think about myself. And we'll dive into that a little bit more. But it affected me as a kid. I wasn't able to do the same things. I was denied the same opportunities, all because of my heart condition. And I felt it was unfair. I felt like, why did God give me this? I felt like it was a curse. I looked at people around me. I was pretty stubborn. I didn't really listen to my doctors. Um, yeah, at all. They would recommend me to like not run or just take it easy. But I wanted to prove myself to be more than my scars. So I would not listen to them. I would run until I was blue, and I would kind of just be stubborn and do my own way because I just hated the fact that I couldn't be seen from from my scar. So that really affected how I thought about myself growing up. Um, I think just to explain the pictures here, the one on the very left is a doctor's visit I had with my cardiologist explaining my heart. I'm not going to go into detail because I forgot. But I also have this picture of myself, which was, I think, 2016, um, and that was just a regular heart cath. I don't think I have any pictures of myself in surgery or when I was in surgery, but I have very vivid memories of that. I remember this one specifically because it was the summer of 2016, and I didn't want to be there. I wanted to play Pokemon Go. And that picture at the very end was when I was 19, I think, and I thought I was going to have blood clots, and it turned out to be nothing, but I had to be transferred to a hospital in the back of an ambulance. And I remember to take a picture because you're never going to see this again. This is really interesting. So, yeah. So before we talk about scars, I wanted to define what we're talking about today. Can we go to the next slide, please? So what are scars? Scars are a wound or burn that is not healed completely. And in my case, that has been physical. For many of you, it could be physical as well. It could be mental. It could be emotionally, psychologically, and even spiritually, right? There is church hurt around. So I wanted to go over some common wounds that we may face. In today's talk, I'll use wounds and scars synonymously, but yeah, can we go to the next slide, please? So here we have different types of wounds. First, we have trauma, grief and loss, circumstances, hardship, financial hardship, death of a family member. I've been fortunate to maybe not experience some of this stuff, but this is very real. Physical ailments, people born with disabilities like myself, people who suffer disabilities later on in life, people who suffer from trauma, rejection, rejection from school, institutions, people, groups, even yourself sometimes. You might reject yourself when we don't fit in, when we aren't accepted as our true selves. Loneliness, when we can't feel like we can't connect with anyone, or maybe no one gets us, or when we try to, no one reaches out to us first. You know, I've been in that situation before. I've been rejected. I've been, I guess, physically ailment. I already talked about that. I've experienced trauma. Emptiness and numbness. This is something that maybe all of us, maybe in college, we're wondering what our purpose is. Why am I here? What am I studying? Why am I studying this? What will this benefit society? How will this benefit myself? And in all honesty, I think I've been wrestling with this the most in my final semester. And then lastly, betrayal and broken trust. Maybe you were betrayed by a close friend, betrayed by family, betrayed by yourself even. You broke your own trust make promises to yourself that you can't keep. And all these are very real. There was also some, I guess I wanted to add, but I didn't feel qualified to talk about, was depression or anxiety or mental illness. I didn't want to talk about it too much today because I don't have the experience and I didn't want to diminish that, but that is obviously another wound that we may face in our lives, upon many others. But these were just 6 of the most common ones I could think of. And I want to ask you guys a question. Who do you think, do you guys think you know the answer to these problems? Raise your hand. Stop lying. Everyone thinks they know the answer to their wounds, right? I'm the same way. I was stubborn. I was like, oh, I can fix my own physical ailments. I can get over this trauma by myself. Broken trust, okay, whatever. I'll just get over it by myself, right? So we come up with our own remedies. We come up with our own solutions. We come up with our own medicine to fix ourselves, right? So I also wanted to go over some common fixes and medicine that we face. First, we have alcohol and substance abuse. People who, want to feel something, who may feel numb to life, who may feel, just they want to escape via this substance. One that I guess is hidden is arrogance. Loud pride that reeks of insecurity in the face that nobody notices. I feel like I've done this sometimes where I've either embarrassed myself or I've been lonely, been rejected, or something like that, and I try to cover it up, right? You can always spot that from a mile away. Sex and romantic relationships, just chasing that endlessly, or even porn, or something like that, right? I feel like we all have some experiences with that, of trying to get validation from the other gender. We have obsessively chasing success in order to cover our own ego with the wounds of feeling rejected, the wounds of maybe not being accepted, not being, known, why are we going to college? To be successful, to make money, right? Escapism is another sneaky way that we have, found a way to heal our wounds. TVs, movies, games, music, just consuming our lives. And I've been a victim of this, doom scrolling all the time, just to not be in our head for our negative self-doubt or image, right? Or lastly, validation from others, wanting to be known, wanting to be popular, wanting to be fulfilled by just the wounds of not being seen, or our self-esteem is not the best, right? I think these are all common practices, especially in the college space that we see today. Look at the classrooms, look at the people we're surrounded by. A lot of these people are healing themselves with this, right? And maybe you're doing that the same thing to you. So what is the solution? How do we fix these wounds? Because it seems like whenever we get into this worldly medicine, it only makes it worse, right? Have you ever been indulged in one of these things and it didn't fulfill you the right way? It didn't heal you completely? Well, because it's not supposed to. So what's the answer? Jesus is the answer. Jesus is the answer. Jesus is our medicine. So can we go to the next slide, please? Thank you. So we're on to the healing portion of my talk. And there are just 2 main verses I want to talk about in healing. 1 Peter 2:24. He himself bore our sins in his body on the cross so that we might die to sins and live for righteousness. By his wounds you have been healed. Okay. Isaiah 53:5. But he was pierced for our transgressions, he was crushed for our iniquities. The punishment that brought us peace was on him. By his wounds we are healed. I spent 5-7 minutes talking about wounds, but how are we healed? We're healed by Jesus' wounds. Jesus' wounds heal us. Isn't that ironic? If God was so powerful, if God was so mighty, couldn't he just heal us right there, heal us right now, instead of having to go through all this pain? He could, right? He could heal us immediately from our scars, from our wounds. But God loves us so much that he wanted to experience the pain with us. He wanted to be wounded. You don't think Jesus hasn't experienced the same pain you have? He came down in human flesh, experienced the brokenness of our world, felt the same weight, felt the same burdens, felt the same loneliness, felt the same betrayal, felt the same rejection, felt the same mockery as you. So when you think about it, Jesus will heal you because he's been through the same thing. You don't think Jesus has been mocked? Jesus was betrayed by one of his closest friends until death. Jesus is so personal to us that not only did he die for us, but he experienced the same pain. So when you talk about, oh, nobody understands what I'm going through, nobody understands the pain that I felt, that may be true in a worldly sense, but there is one man who feels the exact same thing, and that's Jesus. There's no sin, there's no wound, there's no scar, there's no type of hurt that Jesus has not bore the weight of, that he has not experienced. So whether it be a unique situation you may be going through, oh, nobody understands what I'm going through, nobody's been through this before, Jesus has. And he fixed it. He healed it for us. He died for us. So to tie it back a little bit into my story, I mentioned that my last surgery was when I was 6 years old. And that was true, but when I was 18, coming off of my first semester of my freshman year, I was announced to go to emergency surgery for the heart surgery because of my pacemaker battery. And I was devastated because I was running away for 12 years from the identity of my scar. I was like, this is not who I am. I overcame it. And then it slapped me in the face and knocked me down. So I go meet up with the doctors in LA, and they tell me, Luke, you don't need the surgery. You're miraculously healed. And I'm so grateful for that. My cardiologist wasn't able to make it here today, but he's known me since before I was born. But he is also a devout believer, and the thing that he described was only a miracle of God. So you would expect me to be happy, you would expect me to be joyous. I was at that point, but I got so used to my worldly medicine, I got so used to my scar, I got so used to the way that I was living that it broke me when that was healed immediately. I was like, I like the way that I'm living. I like the way that I think about myself, that I always want to try to prove something to someone. I want to live that underdog story. So when the Lord took it away from me and he healed me miraculously, I was broken. I'm not going to lie, right? It was the wound that I was comfortable with. It was the wound that I was like, I had the pride that I could fix on my own, right? And I want to ask you guys, maybe there's one wound in your life that, you're like, oh, I got that. I don't need to give it to Jesus. I don't need to give it up. Why? Because maybe I got it. Don't worry. I've been handling it so well all these years. I've been handling it so well all these years. No one can tell. No one can tell that, I've been struggling with this or this is an open wound. You're right. Maybe no one can tell on the outside. But, it's slowly eating away at you like it was to me. I thought I could heal myself and fix my own self-image with that. But no, God heals. So I have two more verses. Psalm 147:3. He heals the brokenhearted and binds their wounds. And in Jeremiah 30:17, but he will restore you to health and heal your wounds. There again, the Lord will continue to heal. You just have to give it up. So this should be encouraging to us, right? Jesus said he'll take care of us. He'll be gentle with those wounds. He'll be tender with those wounds. He understands those wounds. He's been through the same thing. and he has the solution, right? That should be the best news to us. But it's also challenging, right? I thought my way of living was the best way. I guess my pride carried me. I was like, I like the way that I'm living. I like the way that I'm handling this. Obviously, I'm doing great, but on the inside, I was not. And I was hiding it from everyone in my life, right? And sometimes it's hard to let go. I can understand, right? But we have to. So how do we let go? Next slide, please. We just have to call it to the Lord, right? In Psalm 30-2, he says, Lord my God, I called for your help, and you healed me. All I have to do is just be honest and pray and give it to him. No more hiding the wounds. No more hiding the scars. Because frankly, maybe the way that, I know I've done it, and maybe you guys are doing it, can be more damaging to the wound than actually giving it to the Lord. Matthew 11:28-29 says, Come to me, all who labor and are heavy laden, and I will give you rest. Take my yoke upon you and learn from me, for I am gentle and lowly in heart, and you will find a rest for your souls. So it states there pretty plainly to me, the Lord wants to take your burdens. The Lord wants to take your hurt. The Lord wants to share your pain. The Lord wants to share those experiences, not for the sake of him, but for the sake of you. So what's stopping you from giving your wounds to the Lord? Is it pride? Is it comfort? Right? So today, can we switch to the slides, please? For our application, there are Post-it notes at every table on the edge, and we will be writing our wounds that we face in our lives. This can be as personal as you want. This can be as impersonal as you want. It's really up to you. But I wanted this to be a practice of how we can give our wounds to the Lord. And, okay. Sure. Oh, wow. Okay. But before we get into that, I want to talk about some different ways that we are honoring and reflecting the Lord in this way. First, we are giving thanks, and we're grateful that the Lord can heal us, that his mercy is new every morning, that we even have the opportunity to do this. We have the opportunity to heal. Maybe this is a time of confession or repentance. Maybe it's you not giving up to the Lord. Maybe it's you thinking of your own way to solve things, thinking of your own way to fix things, right? And maybe you need to come to that with the Lord. And maybe if you guys feel comfortable, petition an intercession. Maybe grab a friend or two and talk about it, pray about it. And yeah. But what we're going to do with these, Post-its is we're going to post it to the cross on the very back of the room. But before we start writing, I made a template. Yes. Yeah. So this is just a very simple template. Dear Jesus, I have been hurting in blank, and I recognize you as the only real medicine. The way that I have been healing my wounds, blank, haven't been effective. I give it to you. But before I allow you guys to do this, it wouldn't be fair if I didn't do it first. So I wrote a little bit of a monologue of how I've been feeling. And yeah. Dear Jesus, I have been hurting, and the fact that I have felt like a burden or useless to those around me. I strive to be useful to people around me, whether it be my family or friends, in fear of feeling like that kid on the hospital bed who couldn't do anything for himself or for others. My medicine has been trying to be in control of everything, not out of lack of trust, but of fear that I'll be perceived as not confident or fit to do anything. I have watched my parents sacrifice nights of sleep and days of work to make sure I was healthy for a problem I couldn't fix. I felt restricted in my life by not having the same opportunities as those around me. Maybe that's why I say yes to every opportunity presented to me, or to serve everyone I can, not only out of kindness, but for the need of control. I didn't have any control over my life, or even my own health for a large portion of my life that became demoralizing. So as I grew older and gained control over my life, I had to prove myself and others that I could earn their trust and respect, and that was more than my scar. What I fear the most is letting those people around me down and by not being enough. I fear letting my parents down as their eldest son, seeing the sacrifices they made for me. I fear not being a good role model to my younger brothers. I fear not being the best friend I can be to every person in my life, or even the best leader. I'm in fear of not being liked for who I am because it reminds me of when I was a kid. I didn't even know if I liked myself. But I recognize that my way of healing my wounds by trying to do everything, help everyone, and be in control even when I can't handle it has not been effective. No amount of work that I can do will compare to the power of the cross. So I know that my existence is no longer a burden, but a gift from you. I recognize that this heart of mine is not a mistake, but a gift, not only for myself, for the journey that you have brought me throughout my life, but to others so they may see your character in me. So I give this to you so you can heal this wound forever. Oh. That was just an example, and that took me 2 hours to write because I was getting teary-eyed, and I thought I was gonna cry. That's good, I didn't cry up here. But that was an example, so I'll give you guys 10 to 15 minutes to do this, and then the cross is at the back, and then I'll come up to close up my senior talk. My last part of my talk is restoration. Similar to how we define scars, restoration is the action of returning something to a former place, to a former owner, place, or condition. Similar to how we were made perfect in God's image before sin, I want to talk about restoration. And just another quick personal story for me. I remember when I was 6 years old and I was coming out of surgery and I got the scar on my chest. I looked at myself in the mirror and I was like, Mom, when is this going away? I don't want this anymore. And she told me when I was 26 years old, it would go away, so after 20 years. And then I turned 14 and realized she lied because it was not fading away. But I think that just showed the heart posture that I was in. I was just so ashamed. I was like, I don't want this. I don't want to be like this. Why did the Lord give this to me? I didn't want this on my body anymore. I didn't want this wound. But as I grew up, I realized that it's a unique struggle. It's a unique story that I go through. Whatever wounds you wrote down, whatever wounds you've overcame, wounds you're fighting, don't be ashamed of them, right? Don't be hiding them. Don't be, diminishing your accomplishments, because at the end of the day, they are a trophy. And I want to get to that slide real quick. But before we do the definition, I want to welcome the worship team back up. You good. And as they start coming up here, I wanted to redefine what a scar means, right? In times of battle, in times of war, scars were shown off as a sign of respect and power, that someone has been through a battle, someone has been through a hardship, right? And that scar was a mark of victory. A scar was a mark of endurance. So my new definition of a scar is the trophies we carry from the victories we have through Christ and Christ alone. For our scars are not our own, but the Lord's. And so I wanted to talk about the last scar, the ultimate scar, something I've been building up to. And it's very simple. So I wanted to talk about the ultimate scar. which is the last slide. The cross. Based off my new definition, the cross is the ultimate scar. It's the ultimate battle-tested thing that has lasted through time. And what's cool about it is you guys wrote all your wounds, all your hurts on that cross. And if you look at the cross, nothing has changed. It hasn't deformed. It hasn't fallen. In fact, it's probably stronger now, right? So whenever you think of your wounds, when you think of your scars, think of the one that Jesus gave to us. Every scar tells a story, and the cross tells the story of God's love, and God's love is our medicine. So I want to leave you guys with this last verse. 2 Corinthians 12, 9 through 10. But he said to me, "My grace is sufficient for you, for my power is perfect in weakness. Therefore, I will boast all the more gladly about my weaknesses, so that Christ's power may rest on me. That is why, for Christ's sake, I delight in weaknesses, in insults, in hardships, in persecutions, in difficulties. For when I am weak, I am strong." And as we lead back into worship, I just want us to think about that verse, think about our hardships, and think about our struggles and what the Lord has done for us. So if we could all stand, please. Thank you.